It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
I pulled this from Investopedia. I thought it was a great example as they used three numbers. They said, what if you had 3 years? The first year you made 15%, the second year you lost 10%, third year you made 5%. What's your rate of return? The typical person is, if I ask somebody off the street, how do you figure your rate of return? They're going to add all these three numbers up.
15 plus negative 10 plus 5 equals 10.
It's 10% divided by 3.
3 years.
So they're going to say I made 3.33%.
And I think another thing to mention, and we should have even backtracked on this, how do you know if you made 15% in 1 year or 10% a loss in 1 year? That's really easy. It's just called a holding period return. What you want to do is you want to take your ending value minus your beginning value divided by your beginning value. Now, if there are cash flows, contributions in, or withdrawals out, you have to account for that. But essentially, to calculate the period for any one holding time, ending portfolio value minus beginning portfolio value divided by beginning portfolio value.
It's good that you say that, because I know we've had prospects that have come in the door and we'll say, well, how much have you made with your current advisor? And be like, I don't know. And I'll be like, well, how much, how about talk to me about 2008? How much did you lose in 2008? Well, my advisor says we didn't lose anything because we didn't sell anything.
Oh.
That is a line that I've heard a gazillion times. I'm like, well, that's kind of true in the fact that you haven't recognized the gain or loss, but there's an unrealized gain or loss. I mean, if you looked at your value on January 1st of 2008 and then you looked at it on December 31st of 2008, there was a rate of return calculation that should have been calculated. But we hear that all the time where, that used to be, because we haven't had a bad downturn like that since then. But that's very cute when the advisor goes, you haven't lost anything because you didn't sell it. Well, you need to have a track record of how things are going. So I'm glad you threw that out there because that's very helpful. I want to talk about what, when we looked at this Investopedia article, what is the better way? If we're not going to do the simple average, what's the better way? It's more the geometric average,
that's right,
which takes into account what's actually happening by the time,
through time,
these assets. Yep. So it's a very simple thing. So we take the exact same numbers, that 15%, the loss of 10%, and then the year 3, it was a gain of 5%. But here's the cool thing, and I always like this when you do the math on it. You're going to put a 1 in front of it. So because if you made 15%, it'd actually be 1.15. You see what it did? 1 is 100%. You add the 15%, so that's why it's 1.15. Yep. You then multiply that by, you remember year 2, you lost 10%. So you're 100%, which is 1, lost 10%, so it's 0.9. So you're multiplying 1.15 times 0.9. And then year 3, we know you made 5%, so you're going to multiply by 1.05.
That's right.
And it's a quick math calculation. You multiply all three of those together, and then you divide it by 3. And the number comes out to be 1.0281.
Yeah, you can divide by 3. Or what's even better is if you actually raise it exponentially to the 1 divided by the number of periods.
Look at you getting all nerdy.
Well, no,
Is it because I've been out of college longer?
No, it's just the geometric. So the geometric rate of return calculation is actually...
Here, let me pull it up on the screen so Bo can show him that his equation's probably better. I think it's on there.
Yeah, you just passed it. Scroll down just a touch.
Your eyes are
better.
There it is.
Yep, so 1.15
That's the carrot on there, isn't it?
Times 0.9.
Look at you.
Times 1.05 raised to the 1 divided by 3. So you just take all of your holding period returns, add 1.
Keep me humble. I like that. Keep me humble.
You add 1 to it, and then you raise it to the 1 divided by your number of periods. If you're ever curious, so if somebody asks you, hey, how have you done since 2008? Because we have people all the time come in and say, 2008 was really bad, but I think the markets have been doing really good. If you can just go calculate what you did in 2009 and then 2010 and then 2011, you can actually geometrically link those returns together to figure out what your portfolio has been doing. Now, if you're a client of ours, you get to see that anyways on your quarterly reports. But if you don't have someone doing that for you, it's a really easy way that you can do it on your own.
I do have a confession, because you can see when we did the simple math through simple average, it was 3.33. We did it the fancier way, the more accurate way, and it came out to be 2.81.
That's right.
I still sometimes use the simple average.
Well, because it's much easier to come up with.
It's so easy to figure out. But here's the other cool thing. I want you to understand the math. This is kind of like when you take your calculus class. Your teacher wants you to, or if you're using your calculator, if you can show you understand how things work, it's then okay if you use a crutch to figure out your actual return. Your crutch for most of our clients is after you understand how things are calculated, is you can have a financial advisor that is actually using portfolio management software that is tracking this.